Hello there! Hello everyone, welcome to episode 36 of Star Wars in a Galaxy. That's not the most special thing about this episode. The most special thing about this episode is that we've been recording in a galaxy for 1 year now. 1 year.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. From the bottom of both of our hearts, thank you so much to everyone who's listened, who's talked to us on Twitter, who's done anything to interact with this podcast. We never thought we'd be doing this a year down the road, and it would be so much bigger and so much more fun and so much more everything now a year down the road. It's a normal episode. We watched Storm over Ryloth, Innocence of Ryloth, and Liberty of Ryloth, just like any normal episode. But we got some fun festivities planned down the road after we do that. But first, welcome back to Star Wars in a Galaxy, watching all the Star Wars we can get our hands on. I'm Jacob.
Wait a second. You just said I'm Jacob. Hold on.
I wanted to see how you'd react to that.
Oh, wait. I thought that was a mistake. Oh,
No. I did that on purpose.
Oh, I'm Eli, I guess.
Welcome back to Star Wars in the Galaxy, watching all the Star Wars we can get our hands on. I'm Eli.
I'm Jacob.
I wondered how that was going to go down.
Oh my god.
I was like, should I do it this week? I'm like, no. And then I decided, yeah, I'm going to do it this week anyway. Okay, let's get on to this. Again, as I said before, Storm over Ryloth, Innocence of Ryloth, and Liberty on Ryloth. Do you want to get us started here, Jacob, with our fortune cookie for Storm?
Yeah, so we start off with Storm over Ryloth. The fortune cookie for this is, it is a rough road that leads to the heights of greatness. I think this is a really interesting fortune cookie, and I have a lot to say about this episode, but I don't know. Do you want to go first? What are your thoughts on this fortune cookie?
Fortune cookie's good. Nothing wrong with it. It's not incredible, but it's not terrible. It's good.
I thought it was kind of, in some ways it felt a little bit boilerplate, but I thought it was an awesome fortune cookie for this episode. Specifically, I think this is really applicable to Ahsoka. I think
yes, absolutely.
We see Ahsoka in this episode, in my opinion, kind of beginning her path to greatness and becoming less of a purposefully annoying character and more of a really awesome character that everyone wants to root for in this episode. And she does that by facing the rough road.
Yeah,
this is one of my favorite episodes, flat out, of season 1, or of Clone Wars. All around.
See,
so yeah, I love this.
It's interesting that you love this episode so much, because you know what this episode reminded me the most of, believe it or not?
What?
The Last Jedi.
Really? How so?
Reckless commander defies their superior officer in thinking they can blow something up big while disregarding the lives that may be lost while doing so. I mean, you could put that with Ahsoka and Anakin, you could put that with Poe and Leia. Ahsoka's a little bit better than Poe. She turns back quicker, but nonetheless, and Poe loses more because of that, but nonetheless.
Yeah, I think I like this better than the way it plays out in Last Jedi, because I think in Last Jedi we don't really see Poe change as a result of it. I feel like his arc in the sequel trilogy is pretty much a downward graph. But I think what I like about this is we can really see Ahsoka grappling with the weight of what she's done, which we'll get into in a bit.
I don't know.
And grapple with how she needs to come back, and it ends up making her a much more interesting character and someone that you really want to root for. Whereas with Poe, it seems like that kind of the opposite happens. Like, we come back in Rise of Skywalker and he's still super abrasive and arrogant and obnoxious, just the way he was in my mind in The Last Jedi.
Okay, I disagree, but it's fine. I know. I really like, there's a line that really resonates with me from The Last Jedi in this episode. There were heroes on that mission. Dead heroes.
Yeah.
It really, so let's summarize the episode, because we never actually kind of did that. Ahsoka and Anakin are trying to break the separatist blockade of the planet of Ryloth. The people of Ryloth are being taken captive. The Twi'leks are being taken captive by the Separatists, who want to exploit their planet for resources. Ahsoka makes a reckless move that causes her to lose half of her squad, and Anakin and Ahsoka, with the squad they have left, have to figure out a way to break through the Separatist blockade, which they do, and Anakin pulls a kind of sort of Rogue One maneuver.
Yeah, that's a very interesting maneuver that Ahsoka and Anakin pull. I have more to say about that later.
It reminds me of Rogue One, with the Star Destroyers clashing into each other, destroying the shield gate.
Oh yeah,
yeah,
definitely.
It's the Holdo maneuver without the hyperspace part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where were we?
Yeah.
Yeah. We start off. We see the Separatist admiral. I can't remember their name, talking to Wat Tambor, and Wat Tambor says we cannot allow the Republic to invade this planet.
Yeah.
Which to me doesn't make a ton of sense. It's not very industrialized. But then I was realizing, at least in Legends, this planet has a ton of, unfortunately, slavery and also spice mining.
Yeah, there's a ton of treasure. He keeps referencing treasure.
Yeah.
Turn down for Wat keeps mentioning treasure.
Turn down for Wat. And
I literally, every time he appeared, I just wrote in all caps in my notes, turn down for Wat!
I guess it's
the Techno Union. They provide the best beats in the galaxy.
Techno Union, baby. DJ Wat Tambor. Turn it up.
DJ Tambor.
I think I can only assume it's because of these unfortunate commodities that the planet has kind of been cursed with, that for some reason everyone wants to take every slaver wants Twi'leks for some reason. So we end up seeing it become a hub of kind of shady underworld activity. Maybe that's why the Separatists really want it. But later on, this is much later down the line, I think season 4 in the in the Zygeria arc, we see Count Dooku we see Count Dooku talking with Sidious, and Sidious says, we need to resurrect the slave trade. We need millions of slaves for what we want to do.
And also, you could also make the counter argument to that, which is the Twi'leks who are still free, Cham Syndulla's freedom fighters, are a very important asset to the Republic later on. And, blockading Ryloth means blocking the Republic off from those very important allies that they can get.
Yeah, I think also you have a good point. I think another thing to consider is that Twi'leks are a very, very multiplanetary species. We see them all over the galaxy in great numbers. They're one of those species, like humans. They're kind of everywhere. They may not be as dominant a group as humans, in terms of political power.
But in what Star Wars series haven't we not seen a Twi'lek?
Yeah, and that makes me think, if they're everywhere, and then if news gets out that Ryloth has been freed by the Republic, that's going to turn a lot of people's, especially, I think a lot of Twi'leks might have their opinion kind of influenced by that.
Absolutely.
So I think maybe not so much the conquering of it, but maybe the reason they want to hold on to it also is a PR move, so that they don't have to deal with a large portion, not a large portion, but a significant population kind of having a sea change of opinion against the Separatists.
Yeah. I also just realized, by the way, this is hilarious. There's another Last Jedi parallel. It involves one of the leading commander's superior officers being wounded in battle, severely wounded in battle, and them feeling responsible. Poe with Leia and Ahsoka with Yularen in the episode.
Yeah.
And it actually turns out the opposite, because the first time we see Leia with Poe is when she shoots him with the stun blast. The first time we see Yularen and Ahsoka, Yularen steps in and sticks up for her and her battle strategy, despite the fact that her previous battle strategy kind of failed as well. Yeah. I will say, I love Matt Lanter as Anakin in this episode. Matt Lanter shines this episode. I think Anakin's a very good teacher in this episode, because he doesn't let Ahsoka get too down about it. He reprimands her, but he realizes the fact that if Ahsoka is never allowed to be in charge of a mission again. Ahsoka is, despite her failure, is a good leader. She just needs to be given the chance to slow down a bit and think about her actions, which she does. And that's why they're able to break through the blockade.
Yeah, I think speaking of the blockade, we gotta talk about now Ahsoka's kind of disastrous mission, because I think that's really important. It's a turning point for Ahsoka. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Not, I've said a lot of my stuff about its comparisons to Poe's suicide run against the, not the suicide run, but like reckless run against the Dreadnought in the Last Jedi. But
Okay.
you'd speak to it because
Okay, I absolutely love this moment. I think this is a prime example of how Dave Filoni has kind of, and not just Dave Filoni, but the entire the everyone who was involved in the writing aspect of the Clone Wars really did a great job of taking Ahsoka's character. I think at first purposefully making her not the most likable, and then slowly taking the aspects that they chose to have people not like by the way they presented them, like Ahsoka being kind of sassy and super reckless and disrespectful to characters that fans are already attached to, which ticks people off. And then yeah, we see those aspects be remedied over time, and I think this episode is a major turning point in Ahsoka's character development for so many reasons. First of all, I think there's a prime example of the way the Jedi are kind of being pretty negligent at times towards the clones in the Clone Wars, and why public opinion may be turning against the Jedi. The way Anakin just lets Ahsoka lead out all the clones, and clearly she doesn't have much starfighter experience. He's pretty cavalier and casual about the whole thing. He says, "You'll be fine. Trust in your training. Yada yada yada." I think that's interesting. Also, the fact that Ahsoka doesn't get court-martialed for disobeying orders. Look, I know she's underage, but I don't think that's a great look, to be honest. And another thing this reminds me of is Anakin's arc in the Malevolence episodes, because if we remember in those episodes, we see him kind of struggling with the realization that his abilities outstrip that of the clones, and just because he can do something doesn't mean the clones can do it too. And so we end up seeing him calling off the attack to go for the kill on General Grievous, and instead going to disable the Malevolence's ion cannon. I think we see a similar thing here with Ahsoka, with her saying to the to her wingmates, the clone pilots, just saying, "Come on, just stick with me," even though she has the Force, so she can fly a lot better than they can. But ultimately, I think here we don't see her kind of correct herself, at least in this battle, the way that Anakin does.
I also think, by the way, so Ahsoka was doing just fine until those reinforcements arrived. I think Ahsoka also had a lot of pride in her, and she didn't. There's that line in the Clone Wars movie that's very present here. That when Anakin tells her to run in the Clone Wars movie, she responds in a response that's glued in my mind. No, Jedi don't run. She has that pride about her, and she's still learning to leave that pride behind for survival.
Yeah, exactly. I think that, I was gonna say the most important reason that or the most important thing that this episode does for Ahsoka is show her really, for the first time, really in a heavy, deep way that really weighs on her, grapple with the consequences of her actions. Anakin gives her a really stern talking to. He doesn't just say, "Well, you disobeyed, but it's okay." We see her struggling with her own guilt. This makes her more relatable. The fact that Anakin puts his foot down, tells her to go to her quarters when she gets mad at him for planning an attack, again, really shows this. I think to me, the introduction of the serious guilt and accountability really go a long way to make her more likable. And yeah, it's just great the fact that she gets less cocky. And I think this is one of those. This is the first big turning point for Ahsoka. We see her really from here on out. We kind of start to see her really take flight as a Jedi, as a character. So
as a leader,
I think that's great. As a leader too, yes.
Yeah.
And as a team player. I have some trivia, some low-hanging fruit that I
cool.
thought of. So one thing that I found on StarWars.com is that the maneuver Ahsoka uses in the final battle, when she tips the ship 90 degrees,
Yeah.
and then flanks the cruisers, is called the Marg Sable, and was also used by Thrawn in Heir to the Empire.
Oh yes, yeah.
And then
I heard
we see
about.
this connected in Thrawn alliances when Thrawn and Anakin talk about the Marg Sable, and maybe in canon that's what teaches Thrawn about it. Who knows? I think that's pretty interesting though. Also, in the uh, in the hangar bay, we can see the astromech droid R2KT, the pink
Oh,
astromech droid that was created in 2005 by the R2D2 Builders Club. R2KT was built for Katie Johnson, a 7-year-old who was the daughter of Albin Johnson, the founder of the 501st Legion costuming group, because she had brain cancer.
yeah. I was
And
about to say. I thought she had
yeah,
cancer. Yeah.
yeah, they created that droid to
On
watch
her,
over her. However, do not confuse this droid with QTKT.
which is in the
That's in D
D
Squad.
Squad. Yeah.
But QTKT is also a
In
pink R2 type droid, and also
in memory of.
has like female pronouns.
Yeah. That's
I think
confusing, but
that's a little
okay.
confusing, but I'm team R2KT all the way. I think that's super cool. And we keep seeing R2KT. Dave Filoni even mentioned how he likes putting R2KT in different cameos because he thinks that he wants to make the fans feel like they're being heard for that, which
Yeah.
I think is really cool of him, and is really cool of everyone
My
that
man
came
Dave.
together to make that happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got for Storm over Ryloth. I think the star of this episode is Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Yeah, not too much to say, but
Yeah.
Ahsoka
Should
really
we proceed on
brings
to
it home.
Innocence of Ryloth?
Innocence of Ryloth.
Okay, the fortune cookie is the costs of war can truly never be accounted for. Um, I really like this. I think I'm gonna spoil this for you. This might be surprising to you. Innocence of Ryloth is my favorite one of these three.
Okay, that makes
Um,
sense. I think it's a really solid episode.
it's and I really like I really like how this fortune cookie ties in. We see this episode a lot through the eyes of Waxer and Boyle.
Yeah,
And we see they find Numa, who's going to be important in Rebels as well. Um, and they see how completely wrecked her home got. And it's a reminder that war is not just a series of statistics and battles. It leaves a scar. Battles leave scars. Kanan Jarrus, season 3 of Star Wars Rebels, right?
yeah. Battles leave scars. Some you can't see. I think that's a perfect summary of what happens. I think this is really shown with Numa. She
Yeah,
visits her home, and that is and clearly that is really hard for her. And at the end of the day, we can count up the property damage and the lives lost in war, but I don't think we can ever really truly fathom the mental effects it has on the people, individuals, and communities, and all the subtle, not so subtle, deep long term effects
yeah,
that living through a war and going through something like that can have. So I think it's
and
crazy, like to when you actually think about the toll that it has on Numa, like that's crazy.
and it's interesting to me that this invasion is because of greed. Mostly, this invasion is because of greed. That's it. And how many Twi'leks get impacted by that? It's crazy to me. Yeah. And then they use them as human shields. They call them. Basically, there's a huge cannon that's going to destroy them all, but they can't attack it directly because if they attack it, then they risk killing some of the Twi'leks nearby, innocents that the Separatists are using as they literally call them human shields. I would also like to
Yeah,
point
living
out.
shields, crazy.
I
That's
would also
insane.
like to point out that there's some pretty big space racism in this.
Oh yeah,
Can you
absolutely.
count the number of times they say tailheads?
Yeah, that's weird. Yeah, I
That's
don't know about that.
racist.
Yeah,
That is just
that's
racist.
Yeah, I think but I think that the kind of way they kind of present that as sort of an insult or an epithet. It's interesting because we also see we that is kind of used to show how Boyle and Wax are evolved through this episode. They start out pretty prejudiced. They say like, "Oh, these stupid Twi'leks, stupid tailheads. We're trying to free them. Why can't we use our bombs and grenades? Like they should just
Yeah.
stay out of our way." But then,
They
because
see
they
the
want to
impact
bust down the
firsthand.
doors and yeah, they want to bust down the doors, take Ryloth back ASAP. But then over time, they kind of see what happened to the Twi'leks, and they really end up becoming more empathetic and develop a relationship with Numa, and they end up caring more and wanting to help the Twi'leks.
There's an
So
interesting
I think that's cool to
analogy.
see.
There's an interesting analogy I would pose with this episode to Return of the Jedi. We see the impact of that on Numa. We see her fighting for freedom from the Empire decades later in an episode of Star Wars Rebels. Which one is that? It's the one with Cham Syndulla. I forget which one it is. Either way, that one act of kindness of getting her back empowered her for years forward. Same way that if Leia had never offered her food to Wicket, the rebels might have lost the Battle of Endor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Seemingly unimportant, but it's
but really
those
not.
small acts of kindness. Meanwhile, that's actually kind of the B story of the episode, the Wax and Boyle story, which is actually the better story, is actually technically the B story. The A story is Obi-Wan and Cody scouting around to try and get rid of that cannon. They... By the way, this is a running theme throughout this episode and Liberty on Ryloth. What is it with the Republican probe droids? They never find them. Ever.
I don't know. The probe droids in this episode, the probe droids kind of feel like, to me, it kind of feels like they pop up a little too much.
And they never do anything
like they're
with
everywhere.
it. They never do anything with it. Neither do they in the next episode.
Yeah, the probe droids, they always.
They're convenient, but
it makes it. I would say it seems like they're gonna go and do something where maybe the probe droid is beaming back information to the super tactical, and then that ends up really creating a problem where you end up having where you end up having an ambush and a serious problem for the clones. But that never really happens. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's
a weird unresolved thing in this episode. Let's see. What else? Yeah. They also use the Separatists to, starve these creatures that have,
not the Blurrgs.
No, not the Blurrgs.
They're called...
I love... First of all, we're gonna get to Blurrgs next episode. Blurrgs are so much more powerful to me after seeing them in The Mandalorian, because they're basically Dave's spirit animal at this point. He's included them in all 3 Star Wars series he's worked on directly.
Yeah, I never really thought of that, but yeah, that's so true.
That's from the Mandalorian docuseries. He's like, yeah, Blurrgs just keep popping up with me, and there's really nothing anyone can do about it, apparently. Blurrg, I write down 4 times next episode, Blurrg energy. Blurrg energy intensifies, Blurrg energy, I don't know, I was obsessed with Blurrgs from that episode. But anyway, no, there are other creatures that the Separatists are using that have blaster-proof shields, and Obi-Wan then used beast control on one of them, and he resolves that, but those are really scary, and they were starving them. That's crazy. What else do we got? Oh, there's some battle droid humor this episode. Did you notice the battle droid humor?
Yeah, I thought that I love the wisecracking battle droid. I think this is yet more evidence of a sentient battle droid society.
This is about the worst job in the droid army, and it just went into overtime.
That's the best line. I swear.
That is so good. Line. I love that. I love that.
That's really great. And I don't know. Maybe I'm too into the battle droid humor, but
yeah.
I don't know. They can't have just been programmed with humor. The Nemoidians wouldn't do that.
No, I don't think so. Waxer and Numa and Boyle escape from the Separatists using another vent.
I mean, to be fair, it is a tunnel, not a vent, but yeah,
But,
I see your point.
Come on.
Yet another vent tunnel.
Actually, this is like not, other than that one use in, there's no other Star Wars trope in these episodes. They never dress up like the enemy. The ship never gets blown up. It's actually surprisingly good.
I mean, Mace Windu's ship almost gets, or one of Mace Windu's ship almost gets blown up. But that's a whole nother thing we can talk about.
Yeah. Yeah. I also really like, there's some structuring stuff in this episode that I very much appreciate. Storm is like, Storm doesn't even involve Ryloth. It's the Ryloth arc. The first episode doesn't even involve Ryloth. We never see the planet at all.
Yeah.
First episode, nothing.
That's
episode,
kind of shocking.
Second episode,
not shocking to me, but it's surprising.
It's very surprising. Second episode expands a little bit. We get onto Ryloth, but it's a more personal episode. Only in the third episode does it really feel like a lot of things are like that the entire planet is impacted by it. Not that the other two don't feel that way. It's just I describe it as the global episode. Yeah. I also
be inclined to agree with that.
I also like how all three of these episodes focus on different perspectives. You know what I mean? We got Ahsoka in 1, Obi-Wan in 2, and then Windu in 3. It gives a more rounded view of everything.
I really like the first battle scene in this, where we see the Acclamator class transports. I don't really know why they're called transports, because they do seem like full-fledged star cruisers, but they are more for a transport role. You know, we see the Acclamator cruisers descending through the atmosphere. I really wish we got to see more of them. I feel like they don't really have their right niche in prequel era Clone Wars content, given that now it's clear that Star Destroyers in the Imperial era and in the Republic era, Star Destroyers can freely move through the atmosphere. I think that if it was like it was back at some point in Legends when Star Destroyers were non-atmospheric and could only really operate well in space, I think that would have given a great niche for these ships. It's like, oh, they're Star Destroyers, but they can also go in the atmosphere. The droid says Kenobi is known for his deceptive maneuvers. That struck me as odd, given that his main deceptive maneuver for all the Jedi even is false surrender.
You must be the infamous General Kenobi.
Yeah, I don't understand how the Jedi justify that, but it's crazy. But also, man, I know I talk a lot about the Star Wars music at times. Man, I think the flute music for the Twi'leks in this episode was absolutely astonishing. I thought it was I don't know, something about it was just so full of beauty and hope and tragedy, and it just felt so emotionally full. The music that Kevin Kiner put together for this. So that was something that I really enjoyed
about this episode. You know what I enjoyed about this episode?
What do you enjoy about this episode, Eli?
How much we get to see of the 212. It's normally the 501st the entire time.
I know the 501st gets so much love. The 212th does not get it does not get a lot of love.
I love the 501st. They're probably my favorite clone legion because I don't really care much about clone legions, but still. The 212th gets a lot of attention. I love that. It's great. I like seeing a different, I was looking at the different clone legions, this 501st Legion, and then the 212th Legion, which is the 212th Attack Battalion. They have all different names. The 94th Mobile Reconnaissance Corps is Stas Ali. Actually, Jacob, you might appreciate this one. You know what Ayla Secura's clone battalion is?
Are they they're the 57th or?
Nope, Jacob, they're the 327th Star Corps.
Oh, the Star Wars number. All right.
Liberty on Ryloth.
Fun
story. Let's go. Before we go into this, I referred to it when I was texting Jacob about this. I referred to it several times. I even referred to it in my note as victory on Ryloth. No, it's liberty on Ryloth. I don't know why I said that. I might have even said that last episode. I might have said victory on Ryloth when it was really liberty on Ryloth. Anyway, so fortune cookie. Compromise is a virtue to be cultivated, not a weakness to be despised.
I think this makes sense for this episode. What do you think?
I love it. I love it. I really like it.
I feel like this mainly deals with Cham Syndulla's choices in this episode. You know, he doesn't really trust the Republic and the Jedi.
And Frita, really.
And Orn Frita, yeah, he doesn't really. You know, Cham thinks it will lead to another occupation, but he has to put that. He ends up putting that aside when he sees, when he is reminded, I guess, of what the Separatists are doing to his planet. And Cham also has to compromise, you know, because they both. It's interesting. They both kind of think that the other is trying to use the situation for political gain.
And one of them might be right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think
there's a decent chance that Orn Frita is trying to use it for political gain.
Yeah, you know, I think Orn Frita kind of
Cham is the more ideologically pure of them. So they're trying to liberate Lesu. That's what they're trying to do. Mace Windu and later Cham, but Mace Windu's trying to liberate Lesu. And there's only one way into Lesu. There's only one way to Lesu, and that's through this, like, basically on this bridge. Except for if, like, no one just ever bothered to fly in. That was my other question. Did they have anti-aircraft cannons? I mean, they could have, but, like, I didn't see any. They never referenced any. The only way in was across a bridge, unless you, like, got some sort of ship and just, like, flew across. Right?
Yeah.
Like, if Mace Windu just hopped in a Jedi starfighter and just flew across, there's enough space for him to land, right?
Yeah, I don't understand what that part was about. I mean, clearly the Twi'leks...
I mean, it was an obstacle for him to overcome, but it just seems like you could just use a ship.
Yeah, I mean, clearly the Ryloth freedom fighters don't have that kind of transportation technology.
Well, the Republic does.
But yeah, the Republic definitely does. I mean, maybe they could have made some reference that would have made sense. Maybe something about, I don't know, high crosswinds. You know, there was a possibility to
again. They just never said anything.
It, but they didn't really.
Yeah, it's weird. So we meet Cham Syndulla and his band of freedom fighters, and they want Ryloth for themselves. And then we learn that Wat, that turned down for Wat, is going to burn it to the ground. Dooku wants him to burn it to the ground. Okay, this is the weird thing. He wants to show them the cost of a Republic victory. So basically what that means is, yeah, they can give you good things when you win, but when they win, but if they really win, we're gonna burn it? What? That doesn't make sense. Like, can you explain to me?
You know, I think it's they're talking about propaganda. Like, obviously.
Yeah, but
obviously it isn't actually the cost of the Republic victory necessarily, but at the same time, not everyone's going to know that. Even
from a propaganda like, because the Republic won, the Separatists just got extra salty and decided to, like, be dragged kicking and screaming out of the house. That's not the cost of a Republic victory. That's just the Separatists being brats.
I know, but they're saying, yeah, I think they're saying people are going to think this is the cost of the Republic victory because they're going to see a Republic victory and they're going to see
the burning, and they're not going to associate the burning with the Separatists.
Or they might not necessarily.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
The burning with the Separatists, okay. You know?
It's predicated on the fact that they don't have all the information. Got it. Yeah, that makes sense.
They don't have all the information.
Yeah. Also, we get to see Blurrgs. Again, they're the only creatures to ever appear in Mando and in Clone Wars and in Rebels. All three.
Really? The only one?
Yeah. On Ryloth in Clone Wars and Rebels, and on Arvala 7 in the beginning couple episodes of The Mandalorian Season 1. Later, Kuiil will say to talk to Din Djarin about his ancestors riding the great mythosaur. Surely you can tame this young foal. I have spoken. Anyway, we also meet Gobi, who will show up in Star Wars Rebels. And we
Gobi.
meet somebody else who shows up in Star Wars Rebels, I think. There's a young girl who climbs on Cham's arm in this episode.
You think that's HERA?
It's not confirmed. I really think that's HERA.
Are you sure? I don't think it's the right. I don't think it's the right color. Her skin isn't the right color at all. I think
it looks great in HERA's, and again, it looked
more.
Close.
Yeah, no, it looked more orange to me, but who knows? That's a pretty cool.
It looked pretty. And also it could change a little over time. A, and B, it's the right time frame too. How old was that little girl? How old that little girl look?
That little girl looked like 5, 6, 7, maybe.
HERA was 7.
Canonically
speaking, HERA was 7.
So yeah, that actually does make sense.
That lines up pretty good.
It could be her, yeah. It totally could be her.
I operated under the assumption that was her.
Wow. Okay.
I love the idea that that's HERA.
I mean, I think it's plausible. You've convinced me that it's plausible.
Yeah.
Another thing I noticed about this episode, first off, the first battle on the ledge is awesome with the ATRTs and the ATTEs trying to make their way up the ledge. I think that Mace Windu's, I apologize, using the Force to break the glass is absolutely awesome. And apparently, it is actually, according to StarWars.com, it is in fact a Shatterpoint reference. I think it is absolutely awesome. Something about that shot, the way he puts his hand up, all the cracks appear, and then he takes his hand away and it falls apart. Wow.
Yeah.
That just gets me every time I watch it. I absolutely love it.
This episode turned me around a little on Mace Windu. Not crazy, but I enjoyed him in this episode, which is something I never thought I'd say about Mace Windu, but you know what, I still don't like him. I enjoyed him much more in this episode. He seemed to be a good battlefield general, which is cool, but is also kind of the problem, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, the Jedi aren't supposed to be battlefield generals. I also love the line, there's a line, when Mace Windu is talking with Cham, Cham says, talks about a Republic occupation staying there. And he says, how long before I'm fighting you, Master Jedi?
He ends up fighting stormtroopers.
Yeah, so I was about to say,
from his perspective,
very wise because it comes true.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was right from his perspective.
Yeah. He was very, very right. And Wat Tambor, he wants all the treasure. He wants dark side. I. Me. He wants all that treasure, but he takes a little bit too long. The tactical droid is a savage. Let me tell you, that tactical droid is such a savage. Let me tell you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He just fully takes Watt's shuttle and just leaves on it.
I know, and that also I think is something that's kind of poetic about this episode, is how Watt ends up his undoing ends up being that he was too greedy. Yeah. He wanted to wait. He wanted to get all the treasure he could. He wanted to. Yeah.
It's the downside of the dark side.
Yeah, 100%.
It's
no doubt.
Yeah, and so they liberate Ryloth from Separatist control and put it back into the hands of the Republic for the time being. Before we get to our overall thoughts, Jacob, do you have any low-hanging fruit you want to talk about?
No, I think that
Actually, I have one.
All right.
One of the pieces of treasure that's being loaded into Wat Tambor's ship is the Ark of the Covenant from later Raiders of the Lost Ark.
No way. Wow.
Yeah. I actually saw that online on the StarWars.com episode guy, actually. So that's a good reference to Star Wars' little brother. So should we get to our overall thoughts about these episodes?
Yeah. What was your overall impression of these episodes? What did you
These
think?
episodes were very good. I thought they were very good. In comparison to a lot of stuff we've been watching, they're like very, very good. I think, in my opinion, Innocence of Ryloth's the best. Liberty on Ryloth's the second best, and then the worst of them all is Storm over Ryloth. They're all extremely close. They're all very good. We're doing a ranking for our next episode. They're gonna end up in my top half by far, no contest. All three of them. And yeah, I don't think I appreciate them as much as you do, but they're good. I like them. They have some really good storytelling in it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't think these episodes were as great as the first time, or rewatching them this time. I wasn't quite as struck by them as I was previously. But really, still, even so, I really thought these were some really, really great episodes. Definitely, along with the Malevolence arc and maybe a couple of other episodes, definitely the highlights of season 1. I really think these episodes alone kind of help season 1 in my mind come from like a 5.5 or a 6 out of 10 to like a 6.5 or a 7 out of 10.
They're very
solid. Thinking about how good is them, I really like. I don't know. They just feel like the complete package. My biggest gripe is that they don't feel like they go together too much. They feel like all very different stories. But overall, I think that's all right.
I wish we got to see Ryloth in the first episode. That's
yeah, but I like that we get to see Ryloth. I am sad that we don't get to see Ryloth and see some more big, wide environmental shots and some big, really beautiful panoramas once the animation kind of really kicks up in later seasons. But still, yeah, I really like these episodes. They gave me a lot to think about, a lot to chew on. So yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed them.
First of all, before we get into anything else, that was it for season 1 of Star Wars: The Clone Wars.
Wait, we got one more. Hostage Crisis. What about Hostage Crisis?
That's gonna be in season 3 in the timeline chronologically.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's it for season 1. This is our final episodic episode of season 4 of Star Wars in a Galaxy. Our next episode will be our recap, and then we'll have a special episode. We're not done though, because we got some fun stuff going on. First, I think we should go with everyone's favorite part of the show.
What you've brought me today is worth 1/4 portion.
Yes, indeed. It is the variety show part of our episode. What do we have today, Eli?
This month.
Okay, this month. All right. Do you want to go first?
You go first.
All right. So this month, one piece of Star Wars media that I've been consuming, that I've been enjoying, is the From a Certain Point of View book for The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
I haven't finished it yet.
Of this book before. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't finished it yet, but I really like it. I am really enjoying it. I love it. I think it's a very worthy successor to the A New Hope From a Certain Point of View. I always loved the idea of kind of taking some of these stories and just these background characters and doing something really cool with them. One thing that did irk me a bit, it felt as though they were constantly trying to shoehorn in Rogue One and Jyn Erso references in a lot of the Rebel stories, and it felt kind of unnatural. I'm not sure exactly why. I can't really put my finger on why I felt that, but just some of the ways that they kept referencing her and referencing the things she said, like rebellions are built on hope. I don't know. It just felt like it was really kind of crammed in there in not so clever, not so subtle ways. So that was one thing I didn't like, but overall, it's fantastic. I'm really enjoying it. What have you got going on this month?
I'm very excited to talk about this. I'm gonna talk. This book just came out, so I'm gonna do it again. No spoilers, just like Jacob. My this month is Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule. This is the flagship book of the High Republic. I was not planning on getting into the High Republic, but then the Acolyte got announced, and I thought, hey, it's at the ending of the High Republic. It'd be good as a mega Star Wars fan to know the beginning of the High Republic if we're gonna consume a very good, I'm hoping and I think, show about the end of the High Republic era. So I got Light of the Jedi and I've started reading it, and it's just awesome. It's great. Charles Soule has already proved himself in comics to be a great Star Wars writer. This is his first novel, and he's knocking it out of the park, man. This novel had a huge task ahead of it because it had to be the first Star Wars book of an entire era of Star Wars publishing for books and comics. And then eventually the TV show with The Acolyte, which is going to be at the end of the High Republic era, around 50 years before The Phantom Menace. He's knocking it out of the park. I'm only like maybe 6-7 chapters in, but there's some really awesome world building in Light of the Jedi. We get to see a really truly different time in the galaxy, and I really appreciate that. So Light of the Jedi, that's my this month. Next, we asked on Twitter and in previous episodes for people to send their questions or hot takes or 6 degrees or anything. We got 2 questions for this episode from our fellow podcasters Alberto and Andrew, so we're going to answer those questions right now. From Alberto, who is the host of Radio Rebellion, we'll put Radio Rebellion and Outer Rim Reads, which is the other podcast we got a message from. We'll put them in the description. Congratulations, what are you most excited for in the future of Star Wars?
Ooh, you wanna take this one first?
Yes. I have an extremely weird answer, but let's do this. What I am most excited for in the future of Star Wars right now... Okay, here we go. Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. It's true. It's true. I've been hyped for this game for over a year. I'm so excited to be able to play the entire saga in Lego form. The Lego games, I've played them all. They're really great. I'm excited. What can I say?
That's awesome. This is a tough one for me. I don't really know something that I'm most excited for. That's a tough one. I think I'm pretty excited to continue to see what Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni and that crew is going to do with their visual media and having their hand in Star Wars.
Book of Boba, Mando.
Yeah, Book
Rangers
of Boba,
of the New Republic, Ahsoka.
Mandalorian, Rangers of the New Republic. I'm really excited for all that. Whenever I hear Jon Favreau or Dave Filoni talking, they just really strike me as people who are really great for kind of being the custodians of Star Wars, and especially Dave Filoni. Clearly he clearly
Dave's
has
the
a
man.
very, very deep.
He learned from George himself.
Yeah, he's into it, and I love that. I love how enthusiastic and passionate he is. So I'm really excited to see what he's going to create. So yeah, I'm excited for Dave Filoni. That's what I'm going to say.
So from our friend Andrew at Outer Rim Reads, again, link in the description. Congratulations on the 1 year. You're one of my favorite shows to tune into. We really appreciate hearing that. Yeah, we're just 2 guys talking about Star Wars. We love that people like to tune in and listen to us. What have been the most challenging and the most rewarding things from starting and running the podcast for you both?
Eli, you want to go first again? Because I feel like this is
challenging. I'm not sure. I think challenging. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard for me to say. I'd say honestly, the note taking process is pretty challenging because I know there's so many unused notes for my episodes. I think Jacob's a little more streamlined than I am. There are tons of again, I think people would laugh if they saw the notes for In a Galaxy because there are so many notes that I don't use ever. There are just so many, and I never know what I'm going to use and what I'm not going to use. So that's a little crazy for me. The most rewarding thing, I'll echo what Devore from A Large Review of the Force said on our episode. First of all, before I do that, let's just appreciate the fact that we're getting other creators to do this with us. That is incredible, to be able to talk with other people through the internet about Star Wars. That's awesome. I love that. That's incredible, and I smile every time I get to do that. But what Devore said is on his episode with us, he was very appreciative of the fact that people are listening, and that's really what I'm appreciative of of you know, the fact that, again, I said it earlier, we're just two guys doing Star Wars, and people are somehow listening to this. So if you've ever listened to an episode of this podcast, thank you so much. Jacob?
Thank you. The most challenging thing for me, I think, has been kind of feeling comfortable with going along on the journey of this podcast. Eli, I want to thank you. Hats off to you. In case you didn't know, Eli is really the brains behind the outfit. He had the idea for this podcast. He came to me and was like, Jacob, we should do a podcast. And at first I was just like, okay, but it's been a lot of fun. But yeah, something that's been challenging is just I often feel scared to take that next step, like having on a guest. To me, that feels really intimidating. When we did a live stream with a few other people, that was really intimidating. So I think, just kind of figuring out what I feel comfortable with, and trying to feel comfortable, and just trying to feel comfortable has been a little challenging for me. But that leads me into what I think is the most rewarding, which is, I think, like Eli, just finding the amazing community of people, through Force Fest. I was really nervous for that. I didn't know what was going to happen, and we ended up having a blast. So someone stepped up on the Get Vocal. We talked with them in the chat, and a couple of people were in the chat. We were typing, they were typing. It was fantastic. Every time we have a guest on, that's what puts a smile on my face the most, is being able to connect with other people and have them and listen to their stories, and get to have an exchange with them, and just make connections, make friends, find a little community, a little pocket for ourselves. That has been super fun for me, and I've really enjoyed that.
The final thing we have in this episode, we ask all of the people we talk to as guests a set of questions inspired by Pete Fletcher from Around the Galaxy, who does the same. We've never revealed our answers to these questions. So, without further ado, let's do that right now. Okay,
right,
here we go.
Do you have the questions? Because I don't have them.
No, I have the questions. Don't worry about
awesome.
it. I have the questions. Actually, let me pull them up right now. Wait for it. Where is it? This should be, here we go. I got it right now. So we'll just talk through them in our orders. Okay, favorite Star Wars character?
You want to go first, or?
Yep, I'll go first.
All right, who's your favorite Star Wars
Yoda.
character?
Grandmaster Yoda. He is, I always love the mentor characters, but I love how flawed Yoda is. I love how we get to see where he fell short of doing what he could for the Jedi Order. And I love everything about Yoda.
Yeah, for me, my favorite character has got to be, man, this is a hard choice, but it's got to be Kanan Jarrus for me. I really like his journey and the way he evolves as a character and as a person.
Freddie Prinze.
In Rebels is absolutely fantastic. Seeing him grapple with his own shortcomings and the traumas of his past, and trying to figure out how not to pass that on to Ezra, and trying to figure out how to overcome his own insecurities and try and train Ezra and mentor this boy. It's absolutely phenomenal, and I was just heartbroken when he died, but I think that he's one of the best characters, and I think he doesn't get enough recognition, but yeah, I love Kanan Jarrus. awesome character.
Okay, next one. Favorite trilogy.
Ooh,
I
you
guess
wanna go first?
I'll go first on this one. Okay, I'm just gonna quickly duck to avoid all the pitchforks that are about to be aimed at me. My favorite trilogy is the sequel trilogy. Yeah, I said it. My favorite trilogy is the sequel trilogy. Overall, has the most. We'll get to our Star Wars ranking very soon. Is the most cohesive place in my Star Wars rankings. They're all grouped near the top. None of them are my favorite Star Wars movie, but all of them are very close. The sequels were the first Star Wars that I think spoke to me personally. Like, we talk about things being your Star Wars, what Star Wars first speaks to you most personally. My Star Wars is The Rise of Skywalker. My Star Wars before that was probably The Last Jedi. Those three movies speak to me. Like, I saw them all in theaters, and all three of them were so fun experiences, and I instinctively associate them with being a Star Wars fan, as well as I just love the characters. Rey is awesome, and she's one of my favorite Star Wars characters. I love what they did with Luke. I love what they did with Han. I love what they did with Leia. There are so many things that I find to appreciate about the sequels, and I wish more people, especially with The Rise of Skywalker, would admire the parts that I think are very admirable. But they also have Ochi of Festoon, which is a good thing. But I'll leave it to Jacob now to talk about his favorite trilogy, which I know is definitely not the sequels.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I think anyone who knows me and has chatted with me, it's gonna be no surprise. It's gonna be the original trilogy.
Yeah.
I am a bit of an old head when it comes to the movies. I like the prequels more than I did a few years ago. I've grown to like them. I'm still haven't come around to the sequels, but
Force Awakens.
well, maybe Force Awakens, yeah, but the other two, look, we'll check back in a couple years. We'll see how I'm doing. I'm not vibing with them right now, but we'll see. But yeah, honestly, I just think that A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi, individually, they're all my favorite movies, and I think as a group, they're pretty awesome. I love kind of the campy humor, the art direction, kind of the way it's aged. I think it's pretty good. I think the prequels have aged not quite as well, but I think that the originals, I think you can sit down and watch them right now, and they still look phenomenal in my opinion. So yeah. Originals all the way.
Star Wars movie ranking is next. I guess I'll start with mine.
Okay.
I also, by the way, I'm going to include, and I challenge you to the same, The Siege of Mandalore. I consider as a Star Wars movie because if you look at how it's presented, it feels like a Star Wars movie. So I challenge you to include Siege of Mandalore and also the Clone Wars movie in there.
Okay, I will.
Okay.
I can do that.
So 13, that would include Star Wars movies. Number 13, Star Wars, for me. Number 13, Star Wars The Clone Wars. Number 12, Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. Number 11, Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. Number 10, Solo, A Star Wars Story. Number 9, Revenge of the Sith. Number 8, The Phantom Menace. Number 7, The Empire Strikes Back. Number 6, The Siege of Mandalore. Number 5, A New Hope. Number 4, The Force Awakens. Number 3, The Last Jedi. Number 2, The Rise of Skywalker. And number 1, Return of the Jedi.
From the bottom up, in 13th place, I have The Last Jedi. In 12th, I have The Rise of Skywalker. In 11th, I have The Phantom Menace. In 10th, I have the Clone Wars movie. In 9th, I have Solo. In 8th, I have The Siege of Mandalore, since you wanted me to include that as a movie for our purposes. In 7th, I have The Force Awakens. In 6th, I have Rogue One. In 5, I have Attack of the Clones. In 4th, I have Revenge of the Sith. In 3rd, Return of the Jedi. 2nd, A New Hope. And 1st, Empire Strikes Back.
Attack of the Clones so high surprised me. Wow.
I know, it surprised me too when I was thinking about this, but honestly, I just every time I rewatch it, I kind of like it more, and I'm honestly surprised. But
I was about to say that's the biggest disparity in our list. Then I remembered Rise of Skywalker at number 12 and at number 2. Never mind.
Yeah, that's probably the
yeah. That's the biggest list disparity. Anyway, let's get on to the next question. Favorite non-movie Star Wars media that people are missing out on. Okay, here's my chance to make my campaign.
All right.
Star Wars Resistance, people. Resistance is so good. Resistance is so underrated. It provides some of the best context we've gotten about the sequel trilogy era outside of the movies. And I love the characters. I don't know if you noticed this about Resistance. A lot of the characters are played by people of color and minorities, which I think really says a lot. Star Wars hasn't always done the best about that, but I think Resistance is one of the biggest major steps forward for that. I think that's very important, and I think they also tell a very good story about love and about hope and about family. And I highly encourage, if people have not checked out Star Wars Resistance, do it. Check it out. Season 1's good. Season 1 is my favorite season 1 of a Star Wars show, and season 2 is better. So, yeah. Star Wars Resistance.
Star Wars Resistance. Okay, I have a similar answer. I feel like maybe a bit of a broken record at this point, but Star Wars Rebels. Rebels. I mean, to be honest, at this point, I am pretty thrilled because I've been seeing, I think, in some of the online Star Wars communities and just in general talking to people, a lot more people now are watching Rebels and are giving it a chance than were 2 or 3 years ago or when the show was running, and that really thrills me.
Out of our 4 guests,
I've always
3
loved
of them the 4 guests we've had on so far, 3 of them absolutely adore Rebels.
Yeah, but I still think that there are a ton of people who I don't know. I just think that if people, there are a lot of things that throw people off about it. It is kind of Disney and kiddie at the beginning. It is an animated show, so if you're not if that's not really your thing, then maybe not. But I really would just encourage everyone who likes Star Wars and wants to maybe go a little deeper, or maybe just find something to watch when they have an opportunity. I would really encourage people to watch Rebels. I think it's a really fun show, and for me at least, kind of deepened my appreciation for the original trilogy era.
Favorite Star Wars background character? I'll go first. I bet no one can guess what my answer is. Let me say it loud and proud, everyone. Ochi of Bestoon, let me tell you, he's one of the best Sith hunters in the galaxy. He carries a cool dagger, and he also solves the reason he's one of my favorite Star Wars characters is because he solves a mystery that I had swirling around in my mind for 4 years with the sequel trilogy, which is what happened to Rey's parents. We got an answer. Ochi killed them. Boom, answer, done, good. That's it. JJ put his famous mystery box in front of us, and then 4 years later you got to open it. Ochi killed Rey's parents. And I know I love Rey, and killing somebody's parents is not tolerable in our society, but I don't know, I love Ochi. Ochi's cool. He's gotten his due in the Vader comics, which I've been reading, which are great because they feature him in a starring role. I've been fascinated with Ochi ever since December 15th, 2019, when that movie came out in the theaters. Ochi of Bestoon.
Ochi of Bestoon. Okay, this is a tough choice for me. I'm not really sure, but I'm gonna say, I'm gonna say, the Modal Nodes, the Cantina Band, Figrin Dawn, and the Modal Nodes. I think there's really just a lot of potential there. I think it would be pretty funny at some point to see, I don't know, someone do like a spoof band biopic about the Modal Nodes, maybe, or an in-universe kind of biopic about their rise and as musicians. I don't know. I just think they have a lot of potential, and music in Star Wars is something that doesn't get explored a ton, at least not in a lot of the visual media. So
yeah,
I don't know. I find them fascinating.
Good choice. Coolest Star Wars species. For me, I'm gonna go with Nautilans. I love Kit Fisto. Nautilans.
Yeah, For me, you know, I'm gonna say Ithorians. I think Ithorians are really cool.
Here's a flashback to you from way back in the day of In the Galaxy. Doobie doof, blah blah.
Doobie doof, blah blah. Yeah, they were
From Knights of the Old Republic.
Ithorians were featured heavily in the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
If you don't know what we're talking about, go back to our very early episodes. Episode 2, 3, 4 of Star Wars in the Galaxy. We definitely talk about it.
Yeah, that was back when we were... I can't believe we started with the Knights of the Old Republic. I find that funny still.
What is your preferred Star Wars viewing order? Let's see. My preferred Star Wars viewing order, it's release order. 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 7 Rogue One, 8 Solo, 9. Just do it. It's easier that way.
Yeah, I think for me, I still say the release order. I think that but I think the release order kind of after 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, the release order for me kind of breaks down. It doesn't really matter as much, but I think to really get the what to me is the authentic Star Wars experience, I think it's imperative that those 6 kind of come first, and then after that you can do whatever you want. But I think the original 6 movies sort of, to me, are something that have to be kept intact in that order.
Yeah. What Star Wars planet would you go to for vacation? Challenge for this question: don't say Naboo.
Don't say Naboo. Okay, I'm not gonna say Alderaan either.
Yeah, I'd say Scarif.
Scarif, yeah, that's a pretty nice tropical planet. Yeah. Snorkeling, beach wading.
Pre-0 BBY.
Pre-0 BBY, before it has a giant plume of ash and rock that blocks out the sun and probably causes a mass extinction.
High Republic era Scarif.
Yeah, High Republic era Scarif. That makes sense. For me, I'm gonna have to say Hoth. I'm a skier. I love snow. I love skiing. So I think any of those planets, Hoth, Scipio, anywhere you could ski, that's my jam. Vandor, yeah. I think even is it Scipio where we see Embo snowboarding down a mountain?
There's also that planet. Hat. There's also that planet in The Passenger. Mando season 2, The Passenger.
Oh yeah. Okay.
The one where Mando and Frog Lady crash.
Well, that has those ice spiders, so I think I'm.
Yeah,
fine.
But if you don't go into the cave, that's not going to be a problem.
I don't know. I think I'm fine skipping that planet. I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with Hoth. I think that's got some good fall lines.
What is the coolest weird Star Wars viewing order? I'll start with my custom viewing order. It's like poetry. It rhymes viewing order. I'm doing my trivia watching because someday I want to movie trivia showdown. Hey guys, draft me some point, please. Thank you. Anyway, it didn't happen this time. But anyway.
Hey, you gotta shoot your shot.
2022, it's gonna be the year, let me tell you. But I did the trivia watch in that order. There's some good stuff in that order. 4, 1, 5, 7. Then we go to Solo. Then we go to Rogue One. Then we go to Attack of the Clones. Then we go to Last Jedi. Then we go to then we go to Return of the Jedi. Then we go to Revenge of the Sith. And then we go to the Rise of Skywalker. It creates a really good arc where we see the parallels between Anakin and Luke and Rey and how their journeys evolve. We get insights about the Jedi. There's some other cool stuff like Luke's Luke reckoning with Yoda about whether he should be trained, and Anakin reckoning with Yoda about whether he should be trained in Episode 5 and Episode 1 are very similar. But you'd only notice that by seeing them back to back. In addition, Episode 3 starts on Mustafar. Episode 3 ends on Mustafar. Episode 9 starts on Mustafar. The only reason you'd notice that is if you watch them in order. In Episode 8, you hear Luke Skywalker talking about the legend he once was. You'd only get that and then you go back and watch Episode 6 and see the legend that Luke once was as described in The Last Jedi. There's all these little connections that you wouldn't think about, but are so cool in there. Yeah, that's the weird viewing order I'm preferring. Jacob?
Sounds pretty great. I had a lot of I feel like I have a lot of options for this, but I think I gotta go with a weird viewing order. I think is the sequels are the main part.
7, 8, 9,
viewing
7,
order.
4, 5,
7,
6. 7, 4, 5, 6, 8, 1, 2, 3, 9.
Yeah, something like that. You like seeing that as everything else is just flashbacks and mythology for the sequels. Which, to be honest, I'm not going to say it doesn't make me happy thinking about it that way. But at the same time, I think it is a really, really interesting idea, even though I personally don't subscribe to that idea. So that's why I picked it. I just think it's really interesting.
Next question. What would your job be in the Star Wars universe? I would say mine would be a Jedi consular, probably.
Nice.
I love the Jedi, and I'd want to be one. I like the Jedi consulars in Legends, at least, use their Force abilities, prioritize those over lightsaber mastery, and I like that idea. And so Jedi consular.
I think I would want to be a chef. I want to be Dexter Jetster, have 6 arms, be able to chop, use 3 different
There's
cutting boards at once.
There's something that might depend on, though.
What?
How good your manners are. How big your pocketbook is.
Yeah. But yeah, I just think it would be really fun. I'm into cooking, and I would love to be able to
Galactic
experiment
Chef.
with Star Wars ingredients, Galactic Chef.
Meilurans and
Meilurans, Yogan fruit.
Yeah.
Bantha ribs. Whatever you have. I would cook it up. I think it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah. We all know about George Lucas and his obsession with this quote, and really my obsession with this quote. It's like poetry. They rhyme. Every stanza sort of rhymes to the last. What's your favorite moment? Poetry it rhymes example in Star Wars. Let's see.
Oof.
Mine would be. There's a couple of ones that I like. I really like. First of all, here's one I noticed. In the sequels, Kylo has a task in the sequels of finishing what Vader started.
Yeah.
In Episode 9, Rey goes where tries to find the Wayfinder where Luke's trail went cold, and so in effect she is finishing what Luke started. That's one of them. Number 2, the number of times people ask R2 to stay with the ship is kind of disturbing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get
like
what you mean.
That's real. It's really, really disturbing. And then there was another one. Oh, here's the other one. This is fun. Obi-Wan in Twin Sons imitates Qui-Gon's position that he took right before he died to trick Maul and bait him into thinking Obi-Wan's weaker than he is.
That's in
essence, correcting his master's mistake. Those are my 3 examples. Go ahead.
That's pretty great, yeah. Oof, one example that I think of, there are a lot of these, but I don't know. I none of them really come to mind right now. So I'm gonna say the way that Kanan has 2 arms outstretched and he's holding back the fire when he in the scene of his passing, and he's also pushing away the ship. He's got his arms outstretched, and then he looks back, and then we see Ezra, and he says go, and we see the same thing. And in the finale of Rebels, we see the same thing with Ezra pushing the doors closed, pushing the Purgle arms around Thrawn. There's all that floating glass, amazing scene. And then he says through the comm, I gotta do this. He says I have to see this through in the same way that Kanan saw it through and did what he had to do. So I thought that was to me, that was a really powerful and emotional parallel.
If you could take one item or force power from Star Wars into the real world, what would it be? Mine telekinesis. I can't tell you how many times I've reached for something that's just out of reach, and I wish I had the force for it. Telekinesis. The ability to move objects around with the force.
Yeah, I would have to say telekinesis too. That would just be so much fun to be able to lift objects, move objects, kind of like push yourself around. Yeah, absolutely. Telekinesis, 100%. You know, I really think for cool factor, nothing would quite beat a lightsaber. But honestly,
telekinesis is also pretty cool.
Telekinesis would just be so much more practical. You'd be so popular. You could help all your friends and family move. It'd be so easy. You just pick up a couch or something with your mind.
It's one of the best moments in Star Wars Rebels, like the Vader holding up the walker with the Force.
Yeah, that's
so badass.
That is so cool. I love that moment. Absolutely.
Final question, Jacob. We all know the tragedy of a bounty hunter not named Darth Plagueis the Wise, but who tried to assassinate Padme. She hit the ship, but they used a decoy. Jacob, go ahead.
I gotta say it. It's Zam Wesell.
Zam Wesell, myself included. Yes, Zam Wesell.
That is my considered opinion.
Zam Wesell.
Actually, it's not a considered opinion. It's just something I took for granted until one day I realized other people felt differently, and then or I guess not even me, but Eli started having super strong feelings about it, and then I got dragged in. So yeah.
Zam Wesell, overrule. Done.
Zam Wesell it is.
Zam Wesell.
At least on this show, it's Zam Wesell. But
Zam Wesell.
If you say Wesell, we respect that. We love that.
But also you're wrong.
Yeah, but also we're wrong and we hate you for it.
Anyway, that's gonna be it for this episode of Star Wars in a Galaxy. Next week is the finale of Season 4 of Star Wars in a Galaxy, where we're going to be looking back at all of the episodes we covered this season of Star Wars The Clone Wars. We'll also prepare you and tell you about what we're going to be doing the next week after that, which is also going to be a very special episode. But you'll hear more about that next week. Anyway, in the meantime, you can listen to us on Anchor, on Spotify, on Breaker, on Radio Public. Anywhere you get your podcasts, we'll be there. Follow us on Twitter at InAGalaxyPod, Instagram at Star Wars in a Galaxy. Subscribe to us on YouTube, Star Wars in a Galaxy, right there. You can follow me on Twitter at OshiFan327. I'm trying to figure out... Oh yeah, leave a 5-star rating and review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. It really helps our visibility.
If you want, it really helps us out, yeah.
Yeah. I think if there's nothing else, thanks so much for tuning in for 1 year, and may the Force be with you always.